people that know me think of me. They're a glimpse into reality, the one I stare at each and every day. Would they be scared of me? Or might they be proud of me? Would they have nothing to say? Hey, 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 I ain't the ghost that you think I am. Hey, 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 ain't no tall drink of water for Uncle Sam. I'm no idealist, I think myself a realist. And how's the world keep spinning in a fashion that it does? Don't none of you remember who you once was? In a world of perfect strangers, love goes to the most familiar face, and anxiety's the most of which in this crooked place. Hey, 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 I ain't the sinner that I used to be. Hey, 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 I sit before judgment with a guilty plea, and it's hard to smile when you're suicidal. I turn on my family's horses into glue just for one more good look at you. I'm scared of what I might see, and I'm scared of what you might be. Might you really be free of me? Hey, 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 you're just a face that you show to me. Hey, 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 change it comes slow to me. If the breeze don't blow over, I'll grow wings in my shoulder.
I never said you were all the things you want, but I didn't think you'd be much cooler. And so it's true that everything is alright. You never would put my stuff aside, don't. No one I am waiting for. And you don't know that I will be like I'm already on my way.
It's booming.
Hello.
It's booming. Hey guys, welcome in. It's been a minute. Some changes have happened. Hopefully you're all well. Yeah, I know the background behind me looks a little different. I'm no longer in the same space. New space. But yeah, welcome in. This is episode 36 of the update log.
Go.
And joining me, as always, are Greg and Matt. I'm Rob, your host, and welcome in, guys. It's good to see you all again. Hopefully you guys have been safe and, doing your thing. Hold on, Matt.
Yeah, so since we missed a week, feels like there's plenty to talk about. We got some fun topics.
I certainly hope that you guys are not waiting for me to kick up the vibe here or anything.
Yeah,
right?
no.
Okay,
a lot of things are going on. Namely, this loud ass rain outside.
Yeah, it's raining over here.
Yeah, it's been a little while. And a lot has happened in the industry. Namely, Pal World, or as people have said, Pokemon with guns, has taken the world by storm. This game came out 2-3 days ago?
I think a few more days than that. Hasn't been long though. January 19th.
Okay, so about 5 days.
Yeah, and it's not even a full.
It's not even
a full release. It's early access.
Yeah, it's an early access game released by what's the studio name?
Pocket Pair.
Pocket Pair. There we go. Pair something. It's been a while. So yeah, Pocket Pair. And yeah, it's just taken the world by storm. It's been less than a week. It has broken all kinds of records. 6 million units sold the first 4 days. It reached the top 5 of most games played on the Steam charts ever. It is now sitting, I'm looking at it right now, at number 1.
Yeah,
it reached 2 million concurrent players as its peak. Concurrent players, I believe, I want to say it was today. It's today or yesterday, the last couple of days. Yeah, beating out games like Counter-Strike, Dota 2, BG3.
Yeah, because I checked a couple days ago and it was sitting at number 3, and it's just continued to grow. And number 1. So honestly, the success of Power World so far has been insane. Which, for those who don't know, Power World, I think Grim Wolfen puts it gives a pretty good description. It's like Pokemon plus some elements of Ark survival and Zelda Breath of the Wild. Put those together and give the Pokemon some guns, and that's the game you got here. Which, frankly, it's an interesting concept. I think fans of Pokemon have been starving for something different for a very long time, because we know what Pokemon does. They release a game and it's mostly the same formula with just a new gimmick attached. It's getting a little tired, and people want something new. I think that's part of why there's so many Pokemon fan games or mods for the ROM hacks and stuff. So people want new Pokemon. And I think that's one reason why this is very popular, because it gives them that.
This is new Pokemon with guns and furries and...
Yeah, and ironically enough, I think, Matt, you and I were talking about this earlier today, there was already a Pokemon mod for Power World that immediately got just struck down. It might have been Jenny that told me that.
I think that might have been Jenny, because That's the first I've heard it. I'm exactly struck down by Nintendo.
Either Nintendo or it's Pocket Square, right?
Pocket Pair.
Pocket Pair. I don't know why I keep saying Pocket Square. Pocket Pair. But yeah, there's already a Pokemon mod out there for it. Ironically enough, there's we're gonna get into a couple of things, but while this game has, I mean, skyrocketed to the near top of the charts, the only game beating it now as the top game of peak concurrent players is PUBG. That's the only thing beating it. It's beat out everything else by a very, very large margin. I mean, so peak players, top games of all time, peak players was Counter-Strike at 1.8 million, Lost Ark at 1.3, Dota at 1.2, or Dota 2 at 1.2, and Elden Ring at 952,000. PUBG is sitting at 3.2 million, and Power World right now is sitting at 2 million and some change. So it came out swinging for the fences. And again, they've made 6 million units sold in the first of 4 days. Absolutely fucking ridiculous. And that was Furry Bread, yeah.
Yeah, Grimwolfen is asking, didn't PUBG rip off some other game's concept?
I believe it was Gary's mod.
Gary's mod?
Don't quote me on that. I think so. It was no, I think it was a DayZ mod, which might have been.
Oh, okay.
I remember. But Grimwolfen, you are correct. Yeah, PUBG was a mod of a different mod that became popular and turned into PUBG.
Yeah, I mean let's be frank. That's kind of how I believe it was Dota came to be, because it started as a Grimwolf, and I think you're right. I think it was an Arma mod, but Dota came to be because it was originally like a hack of like a mod of Warcraft, where they like take the hero units and stuff.
Yep.
And then from that,
same thing with League of Legends. All League of Legends and Dota are basically a reimagining of the mod for Warcraft. I think it was Warcraft 3, the Frozen Throne.
Yeah. So interesting how, I mean, a little off topic, but it's interesting how a mod apparently spawned an entire genre of games that is now incredibly competitive.
Well, Dota was a pretty popular game for a long while. I know my son played that like 24/7 for a while.
Oh yeah, I mean,
it's a good game.
It's a popular game.
Yeah, it's very, very popular, especially in Asia, Russia. Super popular. I mean, I think League of Legends is kind of taking this top spot, but it's still Dota is still very popular.
Yeah, League of Legends is the top dog of the MOBA genre, but I mean, they're both still pretty popular. I never quite got into MOBAs myself. I tried them, but I don't know, not my genre. I think
you're not skilled enough, Matt. It's okay.
Okay, there is a steep learning curve, but I think
that sounds like an excuse to me.
Yep.
Okay, you know what? No. Because besides that, because of how competitive it is, the MOBA, like the MOBA genre community, they are known for being particularly toxic.
Mm-hmm.
So
they really very, very are, very much are.
Yeah,
that's part of why I left, and part I got bored.
Yeah, I mean, like anyone who's played a competitive team-based game probably knows that feeling of what those communities are like. I think it's just a byproduct of those types of games.
Yeah, it gets really sweaty in the MOBA communities, boy. Woo! Super sweat.
Yeah, I mean, I used to play Overwatch, and that was, people there were bad enough. I can't imagine how they'd be at League of Legends. But to bring it a little bit back on topic, Power World. So as we were just talking about before, it's seen some absolutely massive success. Tons of people are playing it. Like, in fact, most of the people in the chat right now have been playing it. So I mean, it's obviously got some interesting and fun things going for it. But
Mm-hmm.
inevitably, when something gets this much attention, there's also going to be some controversies to go with it. Some of them are like, for my opinion, like meh, whatever. Some of them maybe hold a little more weight. So I guess we can start with like some of the I guess I'll call them like quote unquote lesser controversies.
Yeah, let's start
'Cause
there.
The lesser controversies.
the ones that are kind of like easily dismissed, I'll say,
All right.
as just people on social media being mad about things.
Lay it on me, Big Daddy.
I think the easiest one is probably the animal cruelty bit, because you catch these creatures called pals, you can put them to work doing jobs or battle with them and whatever. But it's like it's the same thing people said about Pokemon.
Cheap labor.
But, I mean, essentially yes. But
Ironically enough, though, I was watching like the video, like kind of the trailer video on Steam, and you know how you catch them, right? You throw balls at them that
Oh, yeah.
magically pop open, and
I mean, we'll get to that bit in a little, because like how they draw their creative inspiration, we'll call it, we'll get there. But with the animal cruelty bit, like I think
they eat a
it's
lot,
such a
apparently.
non-thing, because it's obviously being a parody of Pokemon. So it's done all in humor. In fact, you can actually catch humans in the game with like your Pokeball equivalent. You can actually catch them. And when you do so, the game tells you this is considered inhumane. Like, because that's an absolute joke, as if saying the rest of it wasn't. Like, it's a game with a sense of humor and is fully aware of what it's doing. So like, yeah, I think that piece is a little like, just it's a non-issue.
wait a minute, bro, Dishes, you actually have to build them a spa?
Actually, you build spas in that?
Yo, this shit is starting to sound like a mix between Pokemon and Tamagotchi a little bit. What the fuck?
Hold up, are we about to say that the pals are actually treated better than real life humans are?
I'm actually kind
They
of
are
worried.
treated.
I'm kind of worried about you, Brody.
I don't have a spa made for me. Like, shit, man.
So I would love a fucking spa made for me. Shit.
Beads and stuff, fantastic.
Shit. But so yeah, so there are a bit of controversy around the game itself and the studio. Pocket pairs, I got that right? I did get it right.
Singular pocket pair.
Pocket pair. God damn it! I'm gonna get it right. I promise.
Now, by the end of the stream, that's the goal.
We'll get it right. My credibility is drowning. But yeah, so there's been a bit of controversy around it, primarily because of the moniker of Pokemon with guns. Now, the reason for that, however, is not necessarily because of anything Nintendo has said, although they've been suspiciously quiet. Rumor mill has it that they're just watching for now. Because if you look, because if you look at a lot of the models, and again, we have plenty of people in the chat who have played it. So, and I'm going to get to you guys in a second because I do want y'all's input. But basically, from what we've been hearing from other sources, if you take a look at Pokemon, a lot of the Pokemon models, and you take a look at the pals from Pal World, they're very similar. In some cases, a little too similar, to the effect that there was a Pokemon. Matt, I think you mentioned it. I can't remember the name of it.
It was a Pokemon Lycanroc.
Okay, like
It's from Sun and essentially a kind of wolf-like
yeah.
Pokemon.
So they took that Pokemon and they took one of the pals and pretty much layered them on top of each other in a 3D render. And aside from very kind of tangential pieces of the model, they're almost a one-for-one copy. Now
Yeah,
that is not me saying that Power World copied um, Pokemon, just calling out what was shown. So
yeah. I mean, here's the thing, because like a similar, like when it comes to just the overall designs being similar, that's fine because they're changed enough to where like yeah, you know what Pokemon this is supposed to be a reference to, but they changed enough of the design so that like yeah, that's not a straight ripoff. But I think when it comes to the like the 3D models, you take those two, yeah, Grimwolf and exactly. This is all allegedly, so nothing's been proven yet, but it's more just suspicions right now because when it comes to 3D models, if they were both created from scratch, the fact that they have like there's going to be some similarities between two wolves, right? But the fact that there are some of the body proportions that were so identical, it raised a lot of eyebrows. Like they were like who was it? Games Chronicle
mhm.
were interviewing some like professional 3D artists, people who make 3D models and stuff. And a lot of them were raising eyebrows about how similar they were. Like one was saying that they'd be willing to testify in court about it, and that's I think that means a lot. So it's
Yeah, that's a pretty big statement.
yes, again, it's nothing proven yet, but I it's definitely raising some eyebrows. This and I don't know. It's like not just that one model. There are a couple others where there's some surprising similarities in the 3D models between the PAL and the Pokemon it was inspired by. But I think the Wolf one was probably the greatest, I guess, match that people were able to find.
Mhm.
Well, it's. I mean, it's still new right now, and it's Pokemon. And every time anything comes out that's Pokemon, it just becomes wild. I remember when the Pokemon Go was first released, and I literally had employees who had gotten themselves in trouble trying to chase down a Pokemon in the plant. So
Seriously?
yeah, yeah.
What do you say to that? How do you respond to that? um. Okay, so we got a couple of people who are chiming in the chat, and baptized to answer your question, dude. So there's this game that came out by Pocket Pair, put out by a studio named Pocket Pair. The game is called Pal World, all one word. And essentially it's Pokemon with guns. If you've ever played the game by Nintendo. Um, so that's kind of what 2024 is opening with Pokemon with guns and a game where you can enslave humanity. What the fuck?
Sounds legit.
Yeah, yeah. Sounds exactly where 2024 is going.
Yeah, Bodacious does look like my camera froze for whatever reason. Like only through the stream though. I don't know why.
It's too bad it didn't catch you in a more awkward pose.
Like in the middle of a sneeze, with my face all scrunched up. That would be perfect, honestly. If it's gonna freeze, I do want to at least see it do something funny like that.
Yeah, might as well get a meme out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so we got a couple comments in the chat. Let's see. Let's scroll back. Let's see. Furry Brand says, "Imagine being mad at someone that did what you should have done years ago instead of kind of regurgitating the same thing." And from here's the thing: I played Pokemon back when Red and Blue came out. Played the first 3 original, Red, Blue, and Yellow, for the Game Boy Color. I remember those. After that, I kind of just lost interest. But from what I've heard from Matt, from other folks who have been playing Pokemon recently, yeah, it's been the same thing for years and years. So that sounds like an accurate statement, Frey.
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing. I played almost every generation of Pokemon except for Gen 4, which is Diamond and Pearl, which is a shame because I've heard a lot of people say that's actually like the best one. Just happens to be the only one that I didn't play. But yeah, like current state of Pokemon is essentially they still keep the same overall formula, except they just add one gimmick each generation. Mega evolutions, Gigantamax, Z moves, terrestrialization. It's just a different side gimmick each time, but it's like a different coat of paint on the same thing. And so
You know who that also sounds like?
what?
Sounds like ZeniMax and Bethesda. Just saying.
Little bit.
I mean, how many times have we seen Skyrim?
too many times to count.
For over 10 years. Just saying.
Yeah, but yeah, I think I said this before, but like the fact that Pokemon has become so stale because Game Freak doesn't really shake up the formula much. I think that is definitely like one factor behind Power World's success because people love Pokemon. I love Pokemon, and like we're starved to see something new done with the concept.
And Harper says a lot of people got ridiculous with Pokemon Go. Yeah, I mean, Greg's over here saying people that worked in his fucking factory were sitting there running after that's at that point you need to put it down and go reevaluate a couple things. What the fuck? Jesus.
Evaluate your life's decisions.
Yeah, you need to step away.
People were telling me to get out of the house, so I did, and now they're telling me to go back in. You know what's can't make people happy.
So Freeman has a couple of comments here that I want to address. So apparently, according to him, you can enslave all the things, kill those things in front of its kin, and then feed them their friend. 10 out of 10 game of the year. What the fuck? Is this true for anybody else who's played this game? Not that I'm doubting you, Frey. I trust you. But can you fucking do that?
Well, I mean, I believe you can essentially butcher them for like food, like meat and stuff. So I guess in that context, when you gotta feed other ones,
you can build them a hot tub.
Why not both?
Build them a hot tub, and then what?
Then serve them their loved ones. I mean, it's
wow.
Sounds like some Hannibal Lecter shit.
Gemma, how you doing?
Bit.
Hey, welcome in, Gemma. Welcome in.
It's a parody game. It definitely leans on the humor of the whole situation.
So, I mean, Frey, I don't believe you, by the way. Don't believe you at all.
I mean,
it's all right, Frey. I'll believe you.
Yeah,
and welcome in, Gemma. Yeah, it is the solid time to enter when we're talking about feeding pals. To bring you up to speed, we're talking about Pal World, which is a recently released game by Pocket Pair, basically essentially Pokemon with guns. And apparently you can enslave those Pokemon, kill them in front of their families, and then feed them to them.
After building them a hot tub.
After building them a hot tub and feeding them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And
yeah. I'm honestly starting to believe that this is a meme game because as Frey Brand just pointed out, there is a pal that lusts after people, and the number in the database is 69.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a meme.
That's completely a coincidence.
It was not planned at all.
The stars truly aligned for this perfect coincidence that was in no way intentional.
No idea what you guys are hinting at.
And
Jeez. Some
as
people's
I'm
kids, I
sitting
tell you.
here thinking about this, good on Pocket Pair for doing this. Whichever way it shakes out, hopefully, they didn't plagiarize, because we're gonna get into some of that stuff here in a minute. Hopefully, they didn't plagiarize work from other genres and whatnot. But good on them for not putting together a game that knows what it is, doesn't take itself too seriously, and it seems like it's a lot of fun. I do plan on getting it myself, but I'm gonna give it a couple months so it kind of irons out the issues, because there are some issues.
Yeah, I mean it's early access, so it's not a complete game yet, so there's bound to be some technical problems or just missing features still, etc. But in fact, I was about to say something, completely lost my train of thought. What the hell? Oh yeah, so like 100% a meme game. The CEO of Pocket Pair was I don't know where I heard this. I was like told it by somebody, so I don't know if this is completely true. But apparently, the CEO said that they decided to put the guns in the game so Americans would play it. This is a Japanese studio, and it's like, if that's true, it worked 100%. And I'm like, should I be upset or should I laugh that we essentially got profiled so accurately with that?
Pocket Pair is a Japanese studio. You are correct,
Yep.
Matt. Holy shit.
Yeah, they're a Japanese studio.
This actually makes me think they are not. Or at least it's. I don't know. It could still be. They could still be fucking around and finding out. Because for those of you who don't know, Nintendo don't fuck around with their IP.
Oh no,
they are very serious about that shit.
No, Nintendo regularly sends cease and desist to like fan games of Pokemon, things that aren't even like being made commercially to make money. They crack down on that regularly. So I no doubt believe that they are keeping a very close eye on Palworld. And I think if there's anything for them to catch on to, it's that bit with the 3D models that we were talking about before. Again, that's still unproven. It's just the most right now is like some raised eyebrows. But if there's any angle for them to go, it's going to be that.
Wait a minute.
We have two people in our audience. Brodacious has played 52 hours in the last 4 days.
So you just no life that shit, huh?
And Frey has played 43 hours in the last 3 days. I'm in awe. Truly in awe.
Fucking no life the shit out of it.
Oh, and Frey Brand actually does talk about that. The mod, the Pokemon mod. Wait, that was a paid?
Yeah.
That was a paid mod?
Yeah, Frey, please elaborate on that. Apparently, it was a paid mod.
If so, then that's
you need to put the fucking controller down or the keyboard down and step away. You have a family to attend to.
If so, then yeah, definitely. I don't exactly agree with Nintendo cracking down on like fan games that are like that people like do for free, but a paid mod, yeah, you can't.
Yeah, I
can't try to monetize someone else's like IP like that. So yeah, I think that one is definitely justified in being taken down.
Oh, I agree. I didn't know it was paid. I thought it was a free mod. Even if it was a free mod, if it's just modding it, even if it's a free mod but modding it to look like Pokemon, I would say I would agree with them taking it down as well. But definitely for something paid, like mods and modding community, you should never have to pay for a fucking mod.
No,
that's just my personal opinion.
It's community driven. That's the whole thing.
Purely community driven. Now, so again, we've talked about some of that. Also, some of the alleged plagiarism going on. There's also kind of allegations of AI pretty much being used to generate some of the models. and we all know the controversy there. AI, and I think it was a gentleman, Bellular. He runs a YouTube channel called Bellular News and a bunch of other things. But he put it very well with regards to AI and kind of art in general. The general consensus and kind of the what I personally know of AI and how it functions within art is that it basically scrapes together all of the art on the internet based on your prompt and puts something together. Now, the argument against and for AI kind of revolves around that, because for it's like, hey, so you as an artist, how do you learn? You look at other pieces of art, you take your inspiration or the techniques, and you redo it. And the argument for AI in terms of art is basically the same thing. What is AI doing? It's just looking at art, taking your prompt, and kind of putting it together. I'm not going to get into the whole is that right or not bit. That's for other people to decide. It's way above my pay grade, and I really don't give a shit. Um, but
Well, I think it's there's an important piece in that real quick because
okay, yeah, go ahead.
It's AI is here and it's not going anywhere, and that's just something that we have to get used to. But there is some balancing that needs to be done, because the people that are out there the artists that are genuinely out there creating, they shouldn't be punished because of it.
Oh, no,
That's really where it comes down to. And the unfortunate part is, and all you got to do is go on, Etsy, and look for art on Etsy, and you're going to see tons and tons of people that are on Etsy selling AI generated art.
Yeah,
They didn't make anything.
Yeah, it's definitely here to stay. I think the thing with AI is just now finding, like, it needs to be like, we're going to come to a stage where people are going to need to realize, like, how to use it ethically, and eventually for, like, say, like, copyright laws to catch up with it, because a lot of AI is trained off of copyrighted material, and it uses that copyrighted material to create new things, and it's a bit of a gray area in copyright law right now.
Yeah,
but when it comes to the
ultimately, I think here's the ugly possibility is that it is going to, as a result, the market will begin to constrain itself, because people are not going to be as willing to share their material.
yes,
Simply because they know that if I put this out there and show people what I've done without any protection, even though I have this little copyright deal, without any protection, if the scrubber from these AI programs can get at my material, then it's gonna be used.
Yeah, I mean that's why it needs to be, like, regulated in a way that AI models can only be trained using certain databases of, like, approved material for
like free license stuff like that. And I agree, and it's been brought up in the community as well. Like, hey, if the AI, these AI programs that are generating are only using free use license material, then that's fine. And I agree with that. I also saw a couple of comments in the chat regarding that. Grim Wolfen says generative AI has been used. Well, use has been alleged, but there isn't any proof that they've actually used it. So that's in regards to Pocket Pair and Pal World itself. And then Freybrand says, honestly, I don't care if it's AI or not. Other companies have already been caught with their pants down using AI for stuff. And that's true. And here's the thing. For me personally, and again, since we're going down this particular rabbit hole, I don't necessarily care, because and the reason why I say that is because it's just everywhere. So I'm kind of getting desensitized to it. But if I'm giving you my honest opinion, I'm okay with AI being used to help touch up projects and pieces of art done by human hand, or to give new ideas. However, I do agree that if you're going to come up with an AI generator towards in regards to art, make sure you're going to databases that are using free use license stuff. Don't steal someone else's shit. Don't be a scumbag.
Yeah, but I think in the case of like Power World and their alleged use of AI, I don't think it has very many legs to stand on. Because first, trying to make AI, it definitely couldn't have been used for 3D models because AI isn't advanced well enough to make any decent 3D models, from what I've heard. Apparently, getting AI to make a 3D model is incredibly difficult. And this in Power World was like announced a good bit before AI technology was really starting to take off. So I don't think that part. I think if anything, it would have been in the creation of the designs for some of the pals. But again, it's I think people are only saying that because of what we are just talking about, how it takes things reference material and kind of stitches them together to explain why some of the pals look so similar to Pokemon. But again, it's a parody game. I I think many of those similarities are very much intentional. Like in that, so, and one extra thing is that Steam does require games to like disclose whether or not they're using AI in the making of their game, which currently it does not say that for Power World. I mean, they could be lying, but that'd probably be a bad idea. So again, it's completely unproven whether or not they're using AI, and they could be explained to other ways.
Let's see. Yeah, Greg gets around. He has multiple houses. In case you guys didn't know.
What?
Yeah, he changes kind of location every week, just to keep things fresh, you know.
That's absolutely not true. But
let's see what we got here. We got so Freybrand says the accusations of they used AI is more of something that he's seen in terms of trying to smear a particular project, instead of actually caring about stolen art. I will agree with that. I think that is being used quite often to essentially that. Although I would say at least half has some merit, because you can tell what AI has been used to generate art. I mean, just look at Gloria of the Giants from Wizards of the Coast, a publication that can afford, you know, custom made art. You know what I mean? They've used AI and then try to play it off multiple times already. So there's that.
You know, I think as part of the creative community, we, you know, our stance is to support creatives. I mean, honestly, that's what it boils right down to. I don't want to see the people, artists in our industry or any industry, being essentially replaced by a machine or machine learning. Now, you know, it's here. It's happening. I think if nothing else, and I'm going to say something really, you take this how you want to take it, but it really comes.
Hot takes.
It really comes down to this: the artists that are creating things that people want. So the really good artists, the people that are out there creating things that people want, are going to continue. They've done well. They're going to continue to do well. The ones who are not are going to go away. And, you know, I'm sorry if that hurts anybody. And I, you know, I know some people that maybe they'll make it, maybe they won't. That's the truth of it. I mean, that's one thing that this move to AI is going to do. You're going to learn how to protect your art, and you are going to focus on creating what people want and doing it well, or you're going to be a starving artist. I mean, starving as in, you know, you're going to have to go work at McDonald's because you're not going to make any money on your art.
Yeah, I mean, and making something that some people wanted is that's exactly what Pocket Pair did with this one, because they took a concept like Pokemon and did something new and fresh with it. That's what Pokemon fans have wanted for years now, and we see how well that's gone for them. Like it's been incredibly successful because they took the concept of a thing like Pokemon and took it in a new and interesting direction, and boom, it breaks fucking records. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I mean from what Grimwolfen says, from what Frey Brand say, they're listening to the community. Apparently, Pocket Pair are listening to the community that have been playing their games, and since we have a number of folks that have played the game and are playing the game. So, Brodicious, Freg, or Wolfen, I want you, and Jenny, I want you, or Harper, excuse me, I want you guys to chime in on. Give me 3 pros from your time playing the game. Three pros, and then we'll do 3 cons.
Yeah, because like,
and try to keep it to things as best you can to things that are unique, that kind of stand out.
Yeah, because like despite the controversies, because there's a bit about Pocket Pair's history I'd like to get into in a little bit.
Oh yeah,
they're obviously doing something right with this game, because otherwise it wouldn't have sold as many copies as it has today. They're obviously making something fun, which is why I hope that those allegations.
The Love Lizard, man, I'm telling you, that was like the key number 69. That was the key.
Like, I mean, maybe something. That's something that'll do.
No, not to be confused with Lot Lizard. It's a Love Lizard.
Yeah, Lot Lizard. Boy, oh boy. If you know, you know.
They let you use pals outside of combat. Something you wish Pokemon would let people do. Honestly, I can see that. So it's not just old Pokemon are only used for battles. They can be used for other things. I guess there's like the HM system in Pokemon, but that was very light use of them outside of battle. So yeah, I can definitely see that, because in a world like Pokemon, that they would be used a lot for other purposes other than just the battling.
And here's the thing also, for those watching who don't know, Power World is a kind of survival base building kind of combat style game. And I've been noticing over the last couple of years, actually ever since I kind of got into base building, the survival genre, that genre has been picking up steam really quickly. There are a lot of games coming out kind of leaning in that vein.
Yeah, I mean, you have like, yeah, I mean, like that. I think that's like the arc inspiration from that Power takes, because Pocket Pair and like some of their history, because a lot of their other games have always been clear. Hey, it's always a very clear comparison who the inspiration for their game is, and the arc inspiration is definitely there. Even some of the UI is very similar.
Again, a lot of the UI is similar.
Yeah. Again, like I think there's something to be said where, like, okay, any creative process is going to take inspiration from something else. The important part is that you take this idea from something else and do something with it to make it unique.
Right.
And I guess when it comes to the way Pocket Pair does things, it's, I don't know, the line between ripping something off and just using it as inspiration is definitely a very blurry line. It's very subjective. And that's what's interesting looking at the way Pocket Pair does things, but because you can clearly, like very clearly see their inspirations and the way things are very similar. But they change a little bit and mash together several different things, but you know where those things are from. So it's an interesting spot when you think about that, like originality versus kind of just. I don't want to pay it like they're just taking things, but they do kind. That's kind of like the way they do it. I feel like I could be explaining this a hell of a lot better than I am right now. Like down to extremely similar UI.
Keep stumbling, Matt. We're enjoying it.
Yeah, like because they have a bit of a history of this actually, with some of their past games. They have a game called AI Art Imposter, which is a pretty much based off of a popular tabletop game. Pretty much, if I recall, the idea was that you would have artists draw something, and then there would be like one person who didn't draw the art that they're presenting, and the game was to like guess who the fake artist was. So they made kind of like a video game version of that.
Yeah, I remember that one.
I think I understand why that one didn't last very long.
Well,
it's still around.
Is it?
Okay, so here's the interesting thing. There's a total of 4 games under Pocket Pair's belt at the moment, including Pal World. 3 of those games are in early access. Like 3 of them have still yet to be fully released. One of which, what I just mentioned, AI Art Imposter, is still in early access and hasn't seen an update since March.
Yeah, March of last year.
So it's a little, I don't know. I'm raising a few eyebrows about the way that they're handling the games, where they have so many early access games and they're quickly moving on to the next thing. Like they're already talking about their next game as well in like Q1 of. So, I forget when, like relatively soon. Already talking about plans for a new game that looks a lot like Hollow Knight. Like, I don't know. Like, it makes me a little concerned if they're really going to be committed to Pal World and like actually making it an
Infinity
game,
Core,
or if this is going to be like some of their other games where it's just they release it, it's in early access, and it just
stays there,
not ever get completed.
Yeah, so like Matt said, there are a couple of games that are in early access. Some of them have been put out already. Some of them, like Pal World, some of them have not. And according to Pal World's executive, I want to say,
the CEO.
CEO, I'm pretty sure. I think it was the CEO that said this in a tweet. They have different teams for each of the projects. Although, like you said, Matt, the what was the name of that AI art?
AI Art Imposter.
Yeah, AI Art Imposter has not seen an update since March of last year.
Yeah, so like if there's a different team for all these games, what's that team doing?
Mm-hmm.
Where's the update for that? So it's like I'm a little. Again, I can't say so for sure, but there's a little doubt in my mind whether or not there really are a bunch of different teams working on these games. If one of them has gone without an update and not even been released for so long, you know, because surely that team is likely doing something else now.
Yeah. Now let's kind of address some of the comments made. Basically addressing the little challenge I posed. So 3 pros, and we have, let's see. So Grim Wolfen said they let you use pals outside of combat, something they wished Pokemon would let players do. 2, the pal combat takes place in the open world, as in real time instead of isolated and turn-based. That's a big thing. And you fight alongside your pal and have a large pal. That's actually pretty cool. Frey Brands 3 are number 1, massive world with impressive environments. That's always a good thing. World building has been a big highlight for gaming over the last 10 years.
Oh
for
yeah,
sure.
I mean they tried that in Scarlet and Violet, but that
Failed.
game needed quite a few more months in the oven to really even do anything with that open world. It ended
Wasn't
up
done
being what they
cooking.
planned. It wasn't, but they wanted to hit that Christmas.
Yeah.
They want to hit the Christmas sales. So
Probably the biggest turnoff for any game for me is to not have an open world environment where
I'll agree with that.
restricted to
don't
where
know.
you can go and what you can do. And since Matt's arguing the point, I'm going to say there are weirdos out there who like that bullshit. But
I mean,
I will argue that most well, it depends on the genre. If the genre is something that can allow for an open world, by all means, I feel like a studio should. Like a fighting game like Tekken or Street Fighter, probably not. Or well, shooters can. I mean, we've seen open world shooters before. I think actually most genres lend themselves to having an open world and it being good. But there are some that are not.
I remember the days of like Street Fighter and Duke
Oh, yeah.
Nukem. I mean, that's,
Street
you know,
Fighter, Duke
don't want to go
Nukem,
back there. No.
I mean,
Streets of Rage.
I'm
stuff like that.
fine with like more like tighter levels rather than an open world if those levels are well done. It's for me, it's all about the execution of whichever way they do it. Like I'd take smaller levels that are built with more care compared to an open world that is just
That's
barren.
empty.
You know?
Yeah. So back to Frey Brand's comment. So number 1 was massive world and impressive environments. Number 2, the game formula of capture pals, base building, and crafting feels rewarding. That's important because I have seen some base building / crafting survival games where that gameplay loop was bland. And then number 3, you can challenge yourself and go to harder zones where you're underleveled but are still capable of capturing some pals if you're skilled enough. That's a big piece that I've seen in not only survival games but in a lot of games coming out now. I mean, Monster Hunter World that we've been fucking binging over here. Like you can take on harder and harder hunts. It's going to be harder, but you know you can do it if you're good enough. You know. Um, I like when games do that, when they allow the player to push themselves, you know, based on skill and not just because they got the best gear or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to Monster Hunter, and because like I know the spot that you're currently at, we haven't gotten yet to the part where a big part of it is knowing what you're about to hunt and preparing.
Yeah, I haven't gotten there yet, but I'm getting there.
Yeah, we'll get there. Monster Hunter World, fantastic game, and I'm stoked for Monster Hunter Wilds.
It's so good. I've had that game in my library for years and didn't play it. Had no idea it was this fucking good. I feel like an idiot. So with regards to, I think Grim Wolfen's comment that I'm about to read is with regards to the other kind of games in the oven that Pocket Pair has. He says, I'm hoping the success of this game will lead them to give it plenty of support because there's a lot of shit to fix and finish. He's definitely has some things to say, which hopefully he'll say here on the stream. And I mean, honestly, I did the math, the loose math on how much they made with over six. I did it at 6 million because that was the established number of units sold. And they made like 160 something million dollars, probably more, off of Pal World in 4 days. So I think they got plenty of money. Well, that's before Valve takes their cut. So, but they still made over 100 mil. So I'm pretty sure they're good.
Yeah, they definitely have the resources to finish Pal World and make it everything it should be.
Which hopefully will lead them to then finishing the other projects they have.
Yeah, another reason why I really hope that the allegations when it comes to the ripping of 3D models from Pokemon isn't true, because if it is, all that money just going straight to Nintendo. They're going to take all of it
Oh yeah, oh, absolutely.
because they will not play around. If they have like any real evidence to go off of, they will make sure Pocket Pair is done for.
Shuts down.
Yeah. Nintendo is fairly
Matt froze.
ruthless. Again?
They protect their IP.
Yeah, they're very protective of their IP.
Mm-hmm. And rightfully so.
I mean, oh yeah, like Nintendo has some of the most iconic IP in all of gaming. Like, there's no other company that even comes close to the IPs that they hold.
Nope.
So it makes sense that they'd be very protective of them.
So Harper's 3 pros for the game are, it's overall just a fun game. It takes two genres that are popular, mixes them together, which ideally is the base building and I think the like Ark kind of, snatching up dinosaurs in the case of Ark with pals here. I can't find the words for it, but you know what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
2, you have combat, but in a different way than most of your standard survival games, in which you have like helpers and pals, and you have guns. Well, no, this is not the only game with guns, but guns make everything better.
It is the only game with Pokemon and guns.
True.
True.
Very true.
Right. We haven't
and number 3 is the exploration is fun, and there are different islands, so you aren't just stuck with the same scene. That is very important. I do like when, because too often survival games that I've been playing lately, it's like one map. Even when it's like a finished game, it's like one map or one biome. So when they pull like a Valheim, where Valheim I think has 4, maybe 5 biomes now, or they have multiple different places that you can go to, that is a truly open world survival game, in my opinion.
Yeah. I have Pokemon gun version. That was always the joke with Pokemon Sword and Shield, because there have been quite a few Pokemon generations where they release like a third like version of it, like kind of like how Ruby and Sapphire had Emerald. People made a joke that Pokemon Sword and Shield would get a third version called Pokemon Gun, and the legendary would be a dog with a gun.
No, yeah, we believe you, Freybrand. Absolutely, man. We're buying it. Whatever you're putting down, we're buying it.
Freybrand is a definition of fucking evil run. Let's put it that way. He's just here to cause chaos. That's it. So, Power World. Yeah, it's taking the world by storm. We're gonna keep an eye on it over the next couple of weeks / months. So
yeah, I'm sure the news coming from that game isn't going to be slowing down over the next coming weeks, especially when it comes to some of the controversies. Mainly, I'm keeping my eye on the one about the 3D models.
Yeah,
because I'm raising a few eyebrows at that one, but again, nothing proven. We'll see how it goes, and if Nintendo takes any action.
It's definitely something interesting to watch, to see, what happens with this game. Does it continue to grow as it has been? Because it shot up really quickly, and probably, it made some money for sure. Probably made a boatload of money. But, what will happen there? Does it continue to expand and grow? Do they, do they support the game? Does Nintendo decide to crush them? I mean, definitely something to keep an eye on.
Nintendo definitely wants to. They're just looking for a reason to, I'm sure.
That's speculative. I'm not saying I disagree, but I mean, that is definitely speculative. And we don't know what is going on behind the scenes. We don't know that Nintendo doesn't actually have a stake in this. So I mean, there's always that too. I mean, they could be a silent partner in the whole thing, and
that's a turn.
Setting back, raking in the money. I mean,
that's a turn. I mean, it is a Japanese company, so I wouldn't be surprised.
And that's the thing, is just because they, honestly. What do you really know about this studio? Do you know who owns them? Do you know that they're a privately held studio? Or are
We
they
can find
just
out,
are
but-
they just are they a subsidiary of Nintendo? Are they a test spot where they throw ideas out there, and if the idea takes off, maybe it doesn't truly reflect a game idea that they have, but it's conceptual in some way. We don't know. We don't really know what the situation is. So I mean, Nintendo may not be the looming giant that's just waiting for them to make some mistake so they can pounce on them, or they might be.
Yeah, I mean, even, and again, we're getting off on a little bit of a tangent here, but and I think this might be different for Japan than it is here, but the whole aspect of a silent partner. If the company's public, let's say it's a publicly traded company, would all partners have to be disclosed, even if like on paper you're a silent partner?
Depends
That's
on
questions to you, Greg.
that depends on where it's traded. That's a big piece of it, and it's certain markets like the New York Stock Exchange. Absolutely, you can see everybody who invests through that stock exchange. So those are regulated by the federal government here in the United States. But there are exchanges around the world that do not have the same regulations that we do. So, and you can in many of them, you can freely invest in those markets, and you can do so privately. And the other thing to it is a lot of times there'll be companies that are, and it's kind of a weird situation of how it works, but there'll be companies that own other companies, and the parent company will be traded on a different exchange. So you could wholly own that parent company, no one will ever know, because that information is not released. But your company that you own then can own even majority shares in other companies, and the only thing the people that are able to see that information are going to see is that XYZ company owns this many, this much of that company. That's all they're ever going to get. It's a pretty lucid trail when you look at that and how tangled that can get. So could Nintendo hide? Absolutely, you bet. In a company that's been around as long as they have, as big as they are, and especially with the Japanese exchange, oh yeah, they could be hiding behind shell companies and no one would ever know
it.
Yeah. Wow, that's a theory, Grimwolf, and that is a theory and a half.
I mean, what if though? I mean, that's the whole language we're speaking right now. It's just complete speculations and whatever.
We're already headed down that.
Does Nintendo
that path.
somehow own Pocket Pair? I highly doubt it, but there's always possibilities.
Possible.
It's right now. It's just as likely that they own them as they are the looming giant waiting to pounce on them.
Yeah,
seriously, it's just as likely either way. There's a lot behind that for sure, but I mean, if they haven't done anything yet, I don't know. I don't see them. Nintendo's pretty quick to react to IP infringement, and they're usually ready to shut you down like immediately, and they definitely have the capability. So the fact that they haven't lifted a finger says there's something else going on. And wait until they build a big platform and then try and crush them. That does not sound like, it's not necessarily a good business practice.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to Nintendo, they need illegal grounds to go after Pocket Pair. And just the designs of the pals themselves, even if some of them are similar, they're different enough to where Pokemon suing them over that would not stand in court at all. Like I think the only legs I think that there's possible for a lawsuit to stand on would be the allegations of Pocket Pair ripping models from Pokemon and altering them. If that's true, again, nothing proven, but if that's true, that's going to be what Pokemon goes for. And that news is pretty recent, so we'll see how that bit goes. But I'd say if there's any angle, it's going to be that.
Well, it's
True.
yeah, and opinions are like certain orifices that we all have, and they all stink.
Mhm.
But
Yep.
My
You
breath
know.
isn't that bad.
I am not touching that one. Wow. Okay, hold on a minute. I am guessing that their weather down there is interesting right now. Welcome back. I lost you both at the same time.
Yeah,
was my joke that bad?
I
think
yeah,
so.
yeah. The Twitch
It was
gods
a
did
shit,
not like
it was
it.
a shit joke.
Like, okay, we had enough of you. You're out of here. Wow.
Yeah. But I guess that's about the. I think that's the short and skinny of the whole Power World situation.
We're gonna move away from painting Nintendo as evil overlords now. Add them to our list of evil overlords.
Listen, I love Nintendo, but they are a very ruthless company at the same time.
I love Nintendo as well, and part of that is because some of the first games that I ever became truly addicted to were like the original PlayStation or the Super Nintendo games. So
Yep, I remember those. I remember the
doesn't
original.
mean I'm not willing to pick on Nintendo, because let's face it, they are the oldest giant among the giants. So
They are.
if there is a a venerable old king that's out there, it is Nintendo in this industry.
And the king has not left the throne yet.
Oh, definitely not.
Yeah.
But speaking of giants in the gaming industry, a very controversial take has come from a Ubisoft executive, specifically Philippe Tremblay, their director of subscriptions. And some of you may have already seen the headlines from like the articles or videos where you see the line that this guy says that players need to get used to not owning their games.
That's right.
Oh yeah.
And that's a hell of a line.
Get used to it, folks.
Here's the thing, though, that there's more context to
Yes.
that particular. That was the first article I saw with that headline. I was like, I reserved judgment until I read the rest of it, because that sounds like clickbait, and it was partial clickbait.
It's a little bit of clickbait, because that is definitely a hell of a line there. But even in the context, it's still not great. And
You're not dating yourself. Why not? I do every time we get on here.
But let's give some of that context, because specifically he was talking about putting games behind like a subscription service, similar to how, say, Xbox does their Xbox Game Pass. Pretty much doing it like that instead of the typical way of games where you buy the game, you have it, and you play it. Which, frankly, I don't think that something like the Xbox Game Pass is a bad thing, because I think it gives. I think there's some studios out there that get a deal that is pretty good for them to put their game out on it, and that helps them. So good for them. However, I don't think that shouldn't be the only way. That shouldn't be the way all games go. And because this statement got quite a lot of blowback on Twitter, especially from some pretty notable people. For one, Sven Vink actually came out and kind of bashed this Ubisoft exec with the disagreement. Pretty much, he says quite a few things, but let's see, what's the most succinct thing he says here? So, the biggest problem, according to him, Sven Vink, which people don't know, that's the CEO of Larian Studios, who made Baldur's Gate 3.
Yep, the man's a
Um,
huge nerd.
he's a huge nerd. Went to accept his Game of the Year award in a suit of fucking armor. It was glorious.
Respect it.
You could hear it clanking in the microphone as he was giving his acceptance speech.
100% respect it.
Yeah. So obviously, games through a subscription service like that, it's a very different way of doing business for the developers, and ultimately, who decides what games get put on that service is the owner of the service. They're the ones who would kind of control what games are on the service, what games essentially would be popular, and all that stuff. So pretty much, it. Let's see how did he put it? He says getting a board to okay a project fueled by idealism is almost impossible. And idealism needs room to exist, even if it can lead to disaster. Subscription models will always end up being a cost-benefit analysis exercises intended to maximize profit. Which he says there's nothing wrong with that, but the fact that it would pretty much everything would be dependent on this board to see what gets even put out there. He says better to just leave the distribution of games from the developers directly to the player. Yeah, in short, he says both are fine to exist, but we definitely shouldn't be going all in on this subscription idea to play our games.
Well, but people are. I mean, if you look at just the you look at the history involved with this over the last, say, even 30 years. When I was a teenager, I mean, you went to the store to buy your video games, and there were like whole walls of video games, and that's where you got your video games. Now you look at a lot of your major department stores, and the only thing they have is the newest, hottest selling stuff, and it's usually like 1 4-foot section behind the locked glass case. They generally don't even have games for PCs anymore. It's literally only the major game stations. So, and take it now, fast forward to right now, when it comes to PCs, you have to specifically look for a PC that has a drive in it. Otherwise, you're not even going to get a drive. It's all going to be internal drive space.
Yeah.
Or you have to buy an external drive for your computer if you want one.
Yeah,
Yep.
like we talked about this before on another podcast when it comes to the push for digital games as opposed to physical games, which again, digital games have their pros and cons. It's a lot more convenient, but yeah, there is that piece of ownership where, like, if you don't have it already downloaded on some storage device and the distribution service, like say if Steam ever went down, you wouldn't be able to get that game anymore. It's lost to the ether. So there are those bits, but this is the subscription service idea is like taking that to another level, to where
Welcome back,
you aren't even like buying the game. You're just paying subscription to have access for it as long as
your copy, quote unquote.
Yeah, and you only have access for it for as long as the service allows you to have access for it.
Here's the flip side of that. There are some games, such as ESO, that for me personally, I spent a lot of money on that game. And I played it for a very long time. And to be honest with you, at this point, I could give a shit less if I lost it.
Yeah, that's fair. I will agree with that. But yeah, I mean, we've pointed out the obvious, with regards to this particular executive saying what he did about we need to get used to not owning games.
Infinity's offering his services in the channel.
Yeah, love services. I'm sure the locals don't like paying my protection services. But I agree. Here's the thing. It's a catch-22, primarily because we're moving in that direction. We have been moving in that direction for a long time, across a bunch of different mediums. I mean, Wolfen mentioned the streaming services. Exactly right. You know, things that we buy there. I mean, that's why Netflix. I don't know if they've completely stopped it, but they've drastically reduced the DVD and like Blu-ray 4K option that they have.
Yeah, I don't know if they do that anymore or not. Good
Yeah,
question.
I don't think I think if they do, it's very sparse. Like they don't even, here's the odd part, they don't even do it for their Netflix exclusive stuff
Well,
that they've come out with over the years.
there's a reason
people to
why
own.
there's a reason why that whole rental service industry is dried up, and even to the point now where the Redbox kind of took it over with having an automated system, and
Yeah.
at this point now you even I'm beginning to see locations that had Redboxes that don't have them anymore because there's just no money in it.
Yeah.
Oh
So-
yeah, I mean digital streaming is just that's the way the future has gone.
Yep.
Because it's just much more convenient and efficient than having physical merchandise for all these things. But and like just for a bit of clarification, when the Ubisoft executive was talking about a subscription service, it's not talking like a single MMO that has a subscription service. It'd be more like a Netflix of games, where you pay the
Xbox.
subscription to the overall Xbox Game Pass, essentially. So that's what he's arguing for, and that's why he said that line of gamers need to get comfortable with not owning their games. But
and as sad as that is, I honestly, and should he have said that? Probably not, because people are not reacting well to it. But here's the thing. I think it's a fact. I do. I think it's a fact.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
I mean, in what manner is it a fact? Are you saying that games are going to be all going towards this?
At some point, you're not going to be able to buy physical games anymore.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
I agree.
I mean,
and if you are, it'll only be the collector's edition, and it'll probably be double what it is now.
Or the only way you're going to be able to get them is to order them online, and it'll probably be you'll get the either electronic or physical version or both, and you'll have to pay more for both. And the only way you're going to get it's off a specialized platform online, or if companies decide to offer it direct from company. More than likely, the big publishers will end up using platforms like Apple or or Amazon or something like that, where you can order those physical games, but you're not going to be able to go down to your local retailer. Maybe if you're lucky, your local game shop is going to have a small selection, but they're not going to carry a big selection because except for if they, exactly, they're not, they're because the retail on them is going to go way down. This is not going to be there. You're going to have to order the stuff online, and just look at how it's happening in the big stores. And how it keeps getting squeezed down. Even the big chain electronic stores, such as Best Buy, the game selection gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So,
yeah. And to address a comment made in the chat by Harper, I can see some benefits, and this is in regards to kind of digitization of the gaming industry. They say I can see some benefits, such as not having to pay $40 or $50 for a game that I end up not liking. And I will agree with you if that was the case. Because, and we've talked about it before on other episodes of the podcast, where and actually in private as well, where there's a shift to digital merchandise in terms of in the gaming industry, but there isn't a reduction in price. You're still
Right.
paying full box price for something that's only digital. Either you can only get it via the company's website or through Steam or GOG or these other digital sites. You're still paying 70 bones for a game, even though they don't have to do anything else. They don't got to do shit. They don't got to package it. Nothing. You're still paying 70 bones. Well, now 70, between 60 and 70. But I think I've seen a lot more games closer to 70 these days.
Yeah, that push is starting to happen.
So it's like,
well, the other part to it is it's the most secure
okay.
It's the most secure method of protecting their IP as well.
Very true. And they just clarified they're talking more along the lines of like a Game Pass, kind of like Xbox Game Pass, kind of a subscription base for a bunch of games.
Mm-hmm.
That, when you put it in those terms, I guess it's my first instinct is to say it's not as bad, because you're not necessarily in that regard. If let's say you're playing for a Game Pass and you get all these games for free, right? Then you don't really own them. You're just renting them essentially.
Yeah.
So it's not as bad.
Yeah, I mean that's what the Ubisoft exec is talking about. Not about the digital, not about the digitization of games, though that model definitely relies on it being digital. But they want pretty much the entirety of the future of games to be in
subscription-based
subscription services, like a big old Netflix of games. Which I just
and you're saying that you don't think that's going to happen.
I 100% think that's going to happen. 100%.
Okay, I don't. I mean, it's already happening with the Xbox Game Pass, but I don't think that the idea of just straight up buying games for yourself is ever going to fully go away. I think both are going to coexist.
I will say this, Matt. I want to believe that. I don't. I think there is going to be a shift over the next, say, 10 years. And buying games from like Steam and stuff like that that's still going to happen. But there's going to be a shift over the next 10 to 15 years where it will be subscription based, and you'll have multiple different subscription options, from Game Pass to the PlayStation. I don't know what the fuck the PlayStation variant is. I don't play a console anymore. I can even see Steam switching to that. I mean, they already have a catalog of games.
Here's the thing about that, though.
Steam tried to do their own platform too, their own game machine platform.
It didn't.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing with that, though. A lot of the major platforms, I could see many offering services like that. But think about indie games. Do you think every indie game is going to have to go through one of those platforms, or do you think they're going to find other ways to supply players their games? I've seen many games where they have their own website where you can buy directly from there.
Well, then that's the option that those studios are going to have to take. I feel like both are going to kind of happen, but I do feel like the majority of the gaming industry, at least at a certain level, meaning kind of what we would consider the double and AAA level, are going to move to subscription based, and they're going to end up either on thank you British, is on PS Plus, Game Pass, or if Steam kind of changes itself up and decides to kind of add its own subscription base to whatever it ends up being, if that happens, or like what you just mentioned, you're going to have the smaller studios who probably can't afford to take the hit that's going to happen by putting the monetary hit by putting their stuff on a subscription base, and they're going to sell it direct.
There, so I just put a poll up if anybody is interested.
Oh, okay.
Learning polls.
Oh,
I'm learning things. Yeah, I can be taught.
Subscriptions.
Yep, subscriptions.
I totally butchered it, but that's okay.
I mean, that's how you are, Greg. You're notorious for your
misspellings.
Poetic license, man.
But here's the thing. If that is where things go and that becomes like the main way, and the idea of like straight up just buying your games even digitally like we do now becomes like a thing of the past, I could see piracy really ramping up in that
Ooh,
if that happens.
that's an interesting segue.
No, because like here's the thing: the more inaccessible you make a game,
I like
the more
pirates.
people are going to be pushed to pirating it and acquiring it through illegal means.
Mhm.
And like that's so. I think that's one thing that would definitely make that type of market like that would prevent it from really taking off fully and just taking over everything would be that.
Mhm. And yeah, I I here's the thing. I definitely agree. Piracy is in that regard would be absolutely rampant. I mean, it. Here's the thing, and this is kind of a segue into another topic. That was for those of you who don't know, Timothy Kane or Tim Kane is the one of the creators of Fallout series. He has a YouTube channel. I highly recommend you check it out. Awesome dude. One of the IGN's top 100 developers of all time, and he kind of chimed in on his piece about piracy and video game piracy. And yeah, with regards to a subscription based model and kind of what would be the fallout or potential fallout of something like that, piracy would go through the roof. And here's the thing: piracy has always been around in the entertainment industry, whether it be for music. For those of you who remember LimeWire, raise your hand. Yeah,
I remember downloading
LimeWire.
Parsons directly
but
to my
I never
computer.
I never downloaded anything from LimeWire.
Yeah, bullshit. LimeWire, Napster, so that's music and movies. If you're going through LimeWire, LimeWire though was the Wild Wild West. He didn't know what you were
Yeah.
getting. But we're
Yeah.
not going to go down that rabbit hole. That's a really dark. You had Napster. You had, and then you had all the pirating that happened with movies and movies. Movies and TV shows. For those of you who lived in the inner city like me, we had those guys on the corner with the burned DVDs. But I mean, video games have always been pirated.
Oh yeah,
it is what it is, and ironically enough, not everything with that's been pirated has been a bad thing. And here's my thing. What I mean by that is there were some pirated pieces of content and games that were modded and made better. Or what tends to happen, the older games that you can't get anymore or the systems don't work anymore were pirated and then emulated and are saved because of the piracy.
Yeah, so that's a big issue in the gaming industry is games conservation. Ensuring that
Mhm.
old games are still exist essentially in the future. Because when when all the old consoles and stuff like that start to fail, like the day when there's no longer a functioning Nintendo 64, how are
Sorry, go ahead.
how are people going to be playing any of those classic games unless the owner of the platform decides to create a modernized version, like essentially ported to modern devices? Unless they do that, everything else is going to be lost to time. Go ahead, Greg.
No, I just want to comment on. I just want to respond to what Grimwolfen is saying, and that's a speculative thing because that's not necessarily true. And the reason behind that is because the developers still control the contract side to that. So now it is possible that if there's a limited amount of market space, so if the big companies basically completely dominate that market, like Microsoft, Apple, and there are no other alternatives, then absolutely they will have control in that space. Now it doesn't mean that a developer can't use their own servers to promote a game service. But the developers do have the contract piece to it, and it really comes down to how that gets paid is by use or by download, however you want to look at that when the person logs in and plays that game. So in a way, the subscription base is also a boon for the developers because they'll continue to get paid on that product for as long as it's in use versus getting paid once for the initial sale. How that actually would end up balancing out, I don't know, but it does create a renewable revenue stream for the developers as well as the providers. So I think that's, and it's essentially very possibly a win-win situation for both sides of that.
I mean, so I feel like it would be better to have best of both worlds where both platforms exist.
The person who suffers the most in this transaction is the customer.
Yeah. I mean, we've already seen it. Again, look at all the digital stuff coming out. Like I said earlier, where digital games are digital only, yet we're not seeing a reduction in price. We're still paying full box price.
Yeah, and I mean, going into how TV streaming services business, that's a whole other rabbit hole that's full of a lot of bullshit. But honestly, we don't need to get into that. But I mean, to bring the bit back towards piracy, like, it's always going to be around. Like, there's no doubt about that. But I think depending, like, it's up to the way the games industry is handled about how rampant it becomes. Because it's like, remember when people had to deal with when a lot more games were putting in always online DRM, essentially to try to prevent piracy. Mm-hmm. Well, that didn't work. People still found a way to pirate those games, and then they didn't have to deal with the always online requirement of the game, which meant that they technically had a version of the game that they could play offline. So it was like, okay, they pirated it, and now they essentially have a superior version of the game compared to me, a paying customer who has to be online to play this fucking thing.
Yep. Capcom is actually, we were talking about Monster Hunter World earlier. Capcom's actually getting raked over the coals for that. They're going back and retroactively adding DRMs and like anti-piracy stuff to their games now.
Yeah.
And it's pissing off a lot of people, and rightfully so.
Well, yeah, because, like, okay, I get not wanting people to pirate your game. But we've already seen with DRM that people are finding ways to do that anyway. And it's only hurting your actual paying customers.
Mm-hmm. It's reducing performance.
That's the shit that kind of tells you that maybe they're not doing it the right way when they're actually harming the product for people who are doing things, the right and proper way by paying for the good that they're receiving. Your barbecue grill has lost internet connection and can no longer work. That's God.
Essentially what it is.
I'm almost certain we're gonna see a day where that
grills
smart grills.
Your refrigerator can already do it.
Yeah, smart grills. You can connect to your phone. Operate it from through your Wi-Fi and stuff.
Eventually, it'll be your toilet too.
Out.
Yeah, get this. You can have a fucking TV in your goddamn refrigerator. What do you need with a TV in your refrigerator?
We almost bought when we replaced the refrigerator. We almost bought one that had that whole internet connectivity thing. It's got a camera in there, so you can access the camera from anywhere via the internet and see what's in your refrigerator. So that if you're on your way home and you want to see if you're low on milk or something, right? You can take a peek.
See if your roommate has eaten your sandwich or not. And
yeah.
Grimwolf actually brings up an excellent point about piracy. Is that a lot of people who pirate probably wouldn't have even paid for the game in the first place.
True.
So it's almost an issue of it's not even like money being taken from the publisher because they wouldn't have been a paying customer anyway. So all they do is kind of end up hurting their actual paying customers.
You guys,
that's not I would say anyone who pirates wouldn't otherwise pay for a game.
I
As I
agree with
said
that,
before,
You guys make
would
me
say the
conflicted, by the way. You really
Why?
do.
yeah, there's
Because I like pirates, but I don't like piracy. So
I mean,
You wouldn't-
you,
you
you,
wouldn't
you gotta
if
take
they
your
could
lumps,
if they
man.
could just
would you?
stop piracy piece and just be pirates, anyway. Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you, Grimwolf, and I would say the majority of people who pirate content weren't going to pay for it anyway. Some would, I think. Some would probably pay for it after the fact. And I've heard arguments for that. I've heard arguments that folks from people who are self-professed pirates, whatever the fuck you want to call them, or have done that where they pirated a game and they're like, oh, this game's really cool, and they either bought the game legitimately or turned around and bought other pieces of content from the producer of said content.
So essentially, pirating as a way to just
test.
demo the game before they can actually play it.
Well, here,
That's interesting.
Obviously not video games, but I mean, you back up a little bit and look at history, and there was a point in time where piracy was as easily done as popping a cassette tape into your boombox or your stereo and recording stuff off the radio.
Yeah.
And then fast forward to today. Is there a lot of nonsense that goes on with the copyright piece and where the money's going and all that stuff? Yeah, there is, but it is on the other side of that, is piracy right? Should we should people be just allowed to steal the game if they want to steal the game? Well, regardless of whether they're going to buy it or not, that makes no difference.
No,
they should not be allowed to do that. And
absolutely not. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely not. But game companies also need to be aware of what would and wouldn't push more people to do so.
Mhm.
And making things inaccessible or just a pain in the ass, like with the DRM,
Mhm.
that pushes
For your
more
paying
people
customers,
to piracy.
Yeah, I will agree with that.
That is something that I believe could take otherwise paying customers and
turn
push
them
them
into
towards
pirates.
piracy because they don't want to deal with that bullshit.
And in Grimwolfen's argument essentially is, are they actually losing anything? Is the developer publisher actually losing anything? And there is a strong argument there for saying no, they're not really losing anything. It's still not okay.
Oh yeah,
no, I
definitely
agree. I agree. And I think I kind of stand on both sides of that particular argument, Grimwolfen and Greg.
It would be
Because
it
I
would be
agree,
even
they're
better if the publishers and producers. I'm sorry for interrupting you, man.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
It would be even better if instead of the reflection being one way, which it is right now, one way, that well, geez, we gotta charge more for the product because of the piracy. So is what you're saying then, if we stop the piracy, the price is going to come down? I doubt it.
No, we all know it's not.
Definitely not.
Yeah, and I agree. I think from a executive and production, from that high level position, you as a studio and a publisher, across the board, you do need to look at stuff like that. And I agree, Grimwolf, in terms of they're really not losing anything because again, it's like I mean they're criminals. I mean they're criminals. Criminals are going to do criminal shit regardless. The pirates are going to pirate the game or the movie or the song. No matter what.
It's amazing how it used to be the pirates would attack the traders, and now the traders are the pirates.
Hey,
very much.
So I don't know. I mean, you bring up a very good thing to think about, Greg, in terms of what you just said. That's gonna have me thinking for a bit.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to piracy, it's all about just finding the right way to deal with it, and we've seen them do some of the wrong ways of dealing with it that ends up hurting.
Did you just clip it? Did you just clip it for a brand? Because if you did, I love you, man. Because we need more clips. People clip. We need more clips. But yeah, Infinity Core, you are entirely right. Basically, pretty much echoing what Greg just said. Oh, looks like we lost Matt. Where yeah, guys at the top, at the top of the food chain in terms of a game production studio, they're only looking at what they lost. And again, the examples are few and far between, but there have been examples of people, finding gems, like old school gems, or coming into an IP from a pirated game and then fully supporting the studio, based off of that. And again, they're probably few and far between, but I mean, again, people who are going to try to get around the system are going to get around it, no matter what you throw at it. So don't penalize the people who are paying for your game, which like with DRMs and other bullshit, to try to stop a few, because that's who you're hurting. You're hurting the many for the few.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, Greg. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but don't companies allocate for losses?
Generally speaking, yes, you build that into your budgeting figures for annualization. It's called shrinkage, but yeah.
Okay, so I don't now that I remember that, because I've heard it somewhere else. What the fuck? Yeah, these companies are fucking greedy. Again,
I mean,
I understand that they're trying to make their money. Piracy is not right, but if you've already allocated for that in your loss, like in your, again, like you said, Greg, in your budget, what are you doing? Shoving already known software
What
into your games to try to prevent that, when you know that same software pisses off your customer base because it negatively impacts performance for your games, and it's been shown to push people away from studios and IPs that use it.
it's a practice. It's a business practice at this point. Here's a sad fact for you. That is generally factored in, especially in the retail industry, but it's across all industry. Anywhere you're dealing with direct sales of any kind and the potential of shrinkage, and that's always there because you're always going to have some sort of loss basically along the way. You can guarantee that is built into their costing model. And if
I just got what you said. Sorry, Greg. I just read the chat.
I almost made a joke. Like I didn't know.
if the number's higher than what you're basing that on, you're going to claim that. Okay. If the number's lower than what you're basing that on, then you're going to try to absorb that. So that's the piracy piece to it. You're not going to complain if you come in lower on your shrink numbers. So say you budget for 3%, and you figure, all right, we're gonna plan to have 3% shrink, which essentially means in a retail setting, that essentially means that 3% of everything in this store is either going to expire out and be thrown away without being recorded. So it's going to be a clerical issue, or it's going to grow legs and walk out the door on its own. And if you come in at if you come in higher than that, obviously that's a problem because you missed your calculations. You're probably going to figure out how you can claim that as some sort of credit. If you come in lower than that, then you're just going to figure out how you can absorb that additional 1% into your bottom line. I'm not saying it's a bad practice. It's a good practice for these companies, and the reason why is because people are thieves and they steal stuff. That's just a fact. I'm not being crass. I'm not being mean to anybody. Not picking on anybody. People are thieves. They steal shit all the time. And companies should be prepared. If you're not planning for that and you're a business owner,
then you're fucking wrong.
You're doing it wrong.
Yeah. And when I'm sorry, when that member, because I've heard of that before. That's why I kind of correlated or confirmed it with you. It pissed me off because it's like you're already accounting for the shit that's going to go wrong because, like you said, if you're not accounting for these things that are going to affect your sales, then you're wrong. It's okay. So why are you missing the forest for the fucking trees here?
Mhm.
That's what blows my mind. And here's the thing. I think God, what was his name? Shit, I gotta scroll up a little bit here. Infinity Core said it, where yes, does piracy impact the bottom line for sale of a game or a movie or what have you, a product? Yes, but in the gaming industry, I would bet money that it's nowhere near as bad as these folks are claiming.
Oh yeah, so
And
it's just
the
a drop in
reason
the
why I will bet money on that is because you have things like Steam and GOG, which have sales on the regular and significant sales on the fucking regular for top tier games. So you just gotta wait it out. You just gotta chill and wait, and then just buy it. You don't gotta pirate
yeah.
it.
Yeah, so Grim actually brings up an interesting instance when it comes to piracy. When it comes to games that are no longer for sale, like you cannot commercially acquire it in any way, and that because I've actually heard that topic come up quite a few times when it comes to the instance of piracy and like emulation for games that literally like just you cannot get anymore,
Mhm.
and whether or not like that is justified, like outside of like because there's the argument of pirating a game that you could otherwise obtain yourself, and
Yeah,
I
I
think
pay
that
for
one's
it now. Yeah.
that one's a little more clear cut because
I would
you can
say
get it the right way, go do it the
mhm,
right way, but when it comes to a game
you can't find.
that that you can't find, that the developer isn't making money on anyway, there's some conversation there.
Honestly, I think at that point, and I don't know if this exists. I don't know if this exists, but I would say that would probably fall under some, at least in my mind, if ideal world, that would fall under something akin to a statute of limitations. Because at that point, like you said, Matt, the company isn't going to make a revenue off of that purchase or that product, whether it be a physical product or a digital product. Although
Yeah,
Grimwolfen did actually bring up a good comment based on the digital side of things. He said pirating a digital good is different from stealing physical product due to the infinite inventory. Infinite inventory in that, yes, until they stop updating it, and then it falls into that space of, well, it's now just a copy of something. But I do agree.
I think what he's getting at, and correct me if I'm wrong, Grim, but I think what he's getting at is the actual cost involved. Because now there is maintenance cost when it
That's
comes to
true.
digital products, but essentially it's you spend all the money on creating a digital product upfront. And then once you've recouped your investment, it is a very high profit margin. Most digital products, I mean, you're talking 90+% profit on your sales once you've
Damn.
recouped your investment. Once you've recouped your investment, that's the thing, is it's big
Yeah, they're
investment
at that
up front,
margin. Yeah.
but then once you've recouped that investment, then it's practically all margin, because then you just have the maintenance cost, and that's essentially the service for selling the product, the service for the upkeep of the product online, but you have no more development costs that are going into that product unless you're continuing to support it. Then your support costs are maybe 20%.
Yeah,
You're
of
still
what
looking
the
at
development cost.
extremely high margin. If you're looking at $100 game, you're probably, once you've recouped your initial investment, you're probably making about $70 off of every copy that's downloaded.
Yeah. And with
Now,
that said, I can understand why a lot of studios are going digital. A lot, like, there's a push for
right.
that because
Well,
yeah, the margins are way better.
well, in
Yeah.
the physical copy, I mean, every single copy has the same investment essentially, or you have a much larger investment because you have to make that physical copy. You have to,
Yeah.
have the
Store
disc
it, ship
made,
it.
all
Yeah.
the packaging, all the, that all is going into every physical copy. So absolutely, people, stealing physical games. I'm not sure if you were going this way or not, Grim, but absolutely, that is a much bigger deal, stealing something that is physical property than stealing a digital download.
Yeah.
Again, I just, I'm gonna always advocate for just don't do it. But
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There is no universe where I will say piracy of a current copy of a game that's regularly updated, that's
Still for
available,
sale.
still available, still for sale, is ever a good thing. Don't do that. However, when it comes to like what you were saying, Matt, games, or well, in this case, in this any product, a movie, a game that is no longer available, that you can't actually go out and find and buy, for
It's a bit more of a gray area.
lack of a better way to put it, piracy and pirates are kind of doing us a bit of a favor culturally,
Yeah,
because they're
they're
keeping those
conserving.
games, those yeah, exactly. It's because it kind of falls in the area of conservation. An interesting
Because
way of conserving, but still.
Yeah, because I can't remember this exact number, because I know this is an issue in the gaming industry where if you look at like the total number of like games just like pretty much made and
Mm.
how many of them are no longer on the market, I cannot remember this exact percentage, but I remember it being talked about on more than one occasion in like different videos. I believe it was somewhere around 70 to 80% are no longer on the market.
I could believe
So there's a lot, and I mean a lot, of games that you can no longer acquire through
Mhm.
like official means.
Like
So
you have to go through
there's
like emulation sites or pirate it.
yeah, essentially the people who pirated those games they've conserved those games. Some of these games still exist because of those people.
Now the question is, do those pirates sell it, or do they just leave it out there for anybody to download?
I think okay, if they sold it for money, then I that's definitely not okay. I don't believe in that whatsoever.
Hmm.
If they're going to do that, I say leave it free for the people to download. Like
I
Colonel says, emulations are free to download.
I got to tie something here.
Okay.
I got to
Go
tie
ahead.
something here because okay,
Yeah.
take what you just said, Matt. Take what you just said, because if you put that in a slightly different context, what you just said is that AI is also evil, piracy.
I mean, that's true. That's a good
As
point.
long as you're not selling it, it's okay. That's what you said. But if you're selling it, then it's a problem. So
Well, that's
AI art, and then selling the AI art is the same thing.
I mean, technically, in a way, yeah. I mean, you can make the argument, yeah.
I mean, if you take my statement and put a completely different context to it, I guess, but
I mean,
because
no, it's true. Yeah.
that's a whole different conversation.
Well, it is different, but oh,
Nope.
whoops. Let me get him back here. If I don't want to listen to his argument, I can just boot him off. Is that kind of? You were backstage for that comment, huh?
But yeah, when it comes to the conservation of games, that is I'd say the silver lining to piracy, because there's a lot wrong with it, but that is the case where it has done some good for games conservation.
Mm. And Infinity Core says there are 20-year limits on certain patents, which there are. And he says there's such limits on other forms of IP conservation. I'm fairly sure you're right, Infinity Core. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. We just don't know how long.
Yeah, there are use clauses in there when it comes to updating your copyright piece, and as long as they continue to improve upon the product, they can update the copyright on the product. That's how some products that have been around for a very long time are still not public property.
Mm.
I mean that's why like with Disney, the Steamboat Willie version of Mickey Mouse has now become kind of I'll say kind of public domain, because Disney's still trying to do some things, because that version of Mickey Mouse is different from the modern version. So that one wasn't protected by that same copyright bit.
That is true.
Disney's is pulling some other stuff right now to try to keep it, but that's a whole other thing to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's essentially how that part kind of works. If you're not doing anything with it, then eventually it's going to become public domain.
Unless it's something like Tylenol, where you're just copywriting a name, you're not actually copywriting a product. So, in most people, I think most people know this, but I mean, go try this. Go to the store. Go to your HBA department and pick up any generic brand of like ibuprofen, and compare the ingredients to a bottle of Tylenol. And you'll see that they're acetaminophen, sorry, but you'll see they're basically the same thing, exactly, in most cases, exactly the same ingredient mix on the label. It's the only thing different is the label, and you're gonna pay $20 a bottle for your I'm just throwing a number out there, $20 a bottle for your Tylenol and 10 for the generic brand.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep. Wow, we've talked about some interesting topics.
It is Infinity.
Yeah. Power World, Ubisoft, and piracy.
It's time for a little housekeeping before we forget and continue on for another hour, because we're want to do that.
Can we talk Big Pharma?
Nah.
How about Little Pharma?
I don't think that's our wheelhouse.
Oh, there is no Little Pharma. Got it. Okay.
No, Little Pharma got eaten by Big Pharma. That's why Big Pharma is Big Pharma. So, Greg, what do we have going on tomorrow?
Tomorrow night, we are going to be reintroducing our BOR team. So back into Cyberpunk BOR. We're going to bring the characters back. We're probably not going to jump back into the main storyline. We're going to do a little bit of a soft landing in there. Bring in the characters, reintroduce the characters for those of you who already know and love them, and for those of you who might not have ever seen them before, because it's been a little while since we have played that series. So we are going to start up season 2 of the BOR, which is a cyberpunk themed game that we play. So that's going to start tomorrow night, and then probably the week after we'll be doing, either within the next 2 weeks, we'll be moving back into our plot, into our storyline, which we're excited to do. I'm excited to get back into that one. I got to figure out how to repay some characters for blowing up fish tanks. I mean, and
everybody's ready to slide for the fishes, man.
we have a Mutant Year Zero solo run that's coming up. Matt, you gonna be ready for that in 2 weeks, or?
Yeah. I'll put my nose to the grindstone. Go over the rule book. Learn the system.
Justice for the taco truck. Taco trucks. I think we're gonna roll with that idea. No pun intended. But we're gonna figure out something. Maybe we got a taco truck nomad pack or something. I mean,
that's exactly
possible.
A whole nomad pack of food trucks.
Yeah.
Frankly, that's a fucking genius idea.
So we have that coming up tomorrow night. Quick update on where we are for GaryCon. So we're about halfway through with our Cyberpunk module, fleshing that entirely out for GaryCon. So that'll be all set and ready. We are going to have some paper copy material for the actual live playthrough. So if you are going to GaryCon, check out the scheduling and come play with us. And that would be fantastic. So we are on there under, I believe it's under my name, Greg Swan. They were supposed to put it under Razmataz, but they put it under my name. We have 7 games. I have 7 games I'll be running at GaryCon. So I'm going to be dead tired probably all weekend long.
I mean, a busy man, that's for sure.
And looking
really is.
and looking for tacos for sure. So yeah, if you go to GaryCon, bring me tacos. You
Bring
win.
this man a taco and a beer.
You'll need it.
And we will actually be having episode 37 on the 31st of January. So it'll be the last episode for this month, and we're going to be diving into a couple of other things, namely how the industry as a whole has been taking a hit. Everything from as we were talking about towards the latter half of last year, Unity, now Twitch has gone through a bit of layoffs. Even Discord, our beloved voice chat and kind of community platform for gamers, has been taking a hit in terms of its personnel.
Yeah, I mean, just more in the whole trend of layoffs in the whole entirety of the tech industry.
We'll also be talking about things regarding more along the lines of hardware. So NVIDIA, for those of you who know anything about computers, NVIDIA and AMD are the two kind of top graphics cards producers in the world, but it seems like Intel has come out swinging in 2024 with their own line of GPUs. So we'll see how that turns out. We're also kind of looking into some allegations concerning a couple of TTRPG creators, namely Matt Mercer from Critical Role and Matt Colville from MCDM. It's a new
not so.
D20 TTRPG that Matt Colville is developing. And a couple other things.
I'm a Matt, and I'm
Matt's a scumbag.
TTRPG. Am I going to get some allegations?
Probably. You're a scumbag.
we'll make something up, post it on Twitter. People buy
can,
for sure.
We can make some allegations for you, Matt, if you want.
Sure, just run it by me first. I want to make sure they're the right allegations.
Gotcha. We need to approve them first before we go to print. Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly. A Matt with a long brown hair. Oh my god.
Yep. Brodicious actually. So the super variant of the 40 series RTX cards have come out, and they're actually pretty decently priced, and I'm hearing they're pretty solid in terms of price point to performance. So you might want to look there. Yeah, so we got some stuff coming down the pipe. Next episode 37. Oof, it's close. We're coming up on 52 episodes. Soon to be a whole year of this.
Yeah, we're coming up on that.
Yeah, it's coming. We got so many more things that we need to do. So
yeah, it's never ending. Unless anyone has anything else, I think we can wrap it up.
Yeah, I mean, we had some good topics tonight. And
we even had a poll. Greg did a poll for the first time. Only took 37 episodes.
He's learning.
I did.
Yeah.
And we'll see.
I can be educated.
Greg, you should probably start looking at who we're gonna rate into.
I already did.
He's on it this time.
You got it. I am on it. Absolutely
train
on it.
The old dog to do new tricks.
And once in a while he listens. All right. With that, you guys have a good night. Thank you very much for being here tonight.
You guys have a good night. Join us again for episode 37 of the update log. This has been episode 36.
Yep.
I wish you guys a good night.
We are going to
have fun playing Pal World. I think.
Yep. Go enslave and murder more Pokemon.
Yeah, I think half of you are going straight to that from here.
Probably.
Have fun.
For those who are not, we're going to go join a friend of the channel and another gentleman who will also be at GaryCon this year, Lord Gasamba. Looks like they are doing some Greyhawk chat tonight, so enjoy their show. Show them some love. Thank you very much for being here tonight, and we'll see you tomorrow night at same time.